Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Crunch Time. I may look a little bit different as I was last time. Don't worry about it. The Crunch Time is still here. We're still here. Let's get it. We are halfway through a London game where Alvin Kamara is not playing. It has been a decent game. I'm enjoying it. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing fairly well. I've been so excited that Rondale Moore has cleared to play that I basically haven't slept. So, yeah, I'm
Nice.
excited about football today.
It's your boy.
That's my
Yeah,
boy.
yeah, nice,
Like,
nice.
yeah, that is hashtag
It
for the
is.
brand.
So Matt Ward, Santiago Casanova. Let's get into some breaking news and players that are out and maybe questionable to play. So let's get to that. Well, the big one is, you useless one now. Alvin Kamara is not playing. He's out.
Last
He did
minute, I'm
not
sure a
play in
lot of
London.
people woke up without being able to fix that because it was literally like
Yeah,
15 minutes before the
yeah,
game started.
yeah. Not great, not great. Some other big ones. David Montgomery's not playing, so Khalil Herbert again is looking very, very nice. Keenan
Yep.
Allen is out, so Joshua Palmer might get a little bit of a boost there. Might get some interesting questions with Josh Palmer. We got one yesterday involving Palmer and Landry. So if you want to ask us questions before crunch time, we are on Twitter as well. You can check out our handles once the player news banner goes away. So yeah, just send the questions as well. Like if you need them beforehand, like if they involved a London player or a TNF player, make sure to hit us up. We'll got you. What else do you have for me?
Well, one of the ones I guess is the Bucks wide receiver core, and that one kind of has some bigger implications. Obviously, Mike Evans is back from his suspension, but
Yes.
we have Russell Gage questionable and expected to play, but then Chris Godwin and Julio Jones truly questionable as game time decisions. And because that's a 5:20 Pacific time game, I'm on the West Coast, folks. It obviously has some pretty major implications because those guys would have pretty high projections, obviously, inside of that offense with this matchup against Kansas City. But you don't know if you can play them and then don't have very many pivots afterwards, obviously, with,
Right.
so many fantasy relevant players on both sides of the football and then the Monday night game. So really if you have an option to go ahead of Godwin or Julio Jones, I would
Mm.
probably consider it in their kind of first games back, so to speak,
All right.
because you might be
Interesting.
stuck with a Kamara situation where 10 minutes
Right.
before kickoff, Chris Godwin
Not
and
good.
Julio kind of weren't showing what they needed to show during the warm-ups and are now inactive.
Right. 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 We'll get to the questions in a little bit. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, make sure to go to YouTube if you want to ask questions. We don't get the Twitter comments, sadly. But yeah, some other key inactives are Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, and DJ Chark is listed as questionable, but is unlikely to play. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Let's just run through the last. I saw, who was it? Brevin Jordan out. If you're interested in that, he's not gonna play. So yeah, that's I think the main
Yeah, we
ones.
have
Practice
Christian
squad
McCaffrey's
questionable, but
questionable as
expected to
well.
play.
Expected to play same as Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis. We have Marquise Brown in the same boat, but all of these guys are expected to play. Marquise being one of the weirder ones, as it was a foot injury that he practiced like on limited sides of a did not, or practice in full on two sides of a limited practice. So it was kind of strange, and that's probably more of a maintenance thing. But maybe with Rondale in and Hollywood seeing some limited snaps, who knows?
Right. Well, I think that's it. We can get some questions. So let's get the people to send some questions in. We got the first one already. Curtis Samuel or Garrett Wilson full PPR. Now, that Washington game is going to be played in extremely rainy and windy conditions against a very good Philly D. So I'm just staying fully away from Curtis Samuel. Do you agree with that?
I think the Jaguars play Philly.
Oh, yeah, they're playing Dallas. My bad.
Just throwing that out there. They are playing Dallas, but you're not wrong about the weather situation.
And the good defense as well. It just mixed up the
yep,
it's not as bad as weather, but the defense is still a factor.
Yeah,
and I do like Garrett Wilson this week, by the way.
You're right with your answer anyway. Yeah, that was something that
yes,
me and Mike were covering on the preview pod. Is we're kind of into that Steelers Jets matchup for Zach Wilson's return. It's a much better matchup than it appears to be because of the Steelers defense.
Yeah,
like much better name than they are
against wide receivers.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what. So that's like the Steelers are that vaunted defense in name only. They've kind of really struggled this season. Yeah, and obviously injuries are a big part of that.
Yeah, they've been good as a defensive unit. They've just been soft against wide receivers in general. So that's good. So I like Garrett Wilson. I wouldn't think about it twice, to be perfectly honest. So there you go, Mitchell. Hopefully that helps. Good luck. Garrett Wilson, Deontay Johnson, or Debo, start 2. Now, I do like Garrett Wilson, but how much do I like Garrett Wilson?
True.
What's your take on this?
I can go right ahead too and say that like Deontay Johnson and Debo made my list of Grand Slam smashes of the week to kind of be two guys that can help you win your week win your league matchup this week. You're not winning your league in week 4 yet, unfortunately. But yeah, so starting 2 over that, it's Deontay and Debo for me pretty easily. And I do really like Garrett Wilson's matchup, but I like those guys a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Garrett Wilson is a good play, but it's just not on the level as Deontay or Debo.
It's like I would have all of those guys in my top 24 rankings this week, though, but just Deontay and Debo higher.
Yeah,
it's kind of that simple.
Yeah, exactly. They're all good options, and I think just it is possible Wilson like outscores those guys. It's not out of the realm of possibility. However, I just don't think this is the week for it to happen. Right, so. I think we lost Matt right now. I don't know what's going on, so I'll just keep it going. We got Boyd. Top of the morning. Top of the morning to you too, man. How are you doing?
Can you still hear me?
For you today. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my camera. Sorry, I'll try and fix it.
Yeah, I hear you. I just don't see you anymore. Okay, we can keep going. I'll just look. Let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah, word.
Khalil Herbert or Jamal Williams. Oh, both backups coming in. I know you're a Khalil boy. So what's your take? Oh, you're back.
There we go. Hey, Khalil Herbert for me here. Yep, straight up.
Just that.
Yeah, it's honestly, yeah. I feel just bad about that Detroit offense anyway. Not that the Chicago offense is an offense that you should feel any much better about. That's not the point. But one thing that Chicago has been able to do very effectively is move the football on the ground.
Right.
And, for better or for worse, they could be down 17 and are going to run it 3 times in a row on 1st and 20. So I think Khalil Herbert is a must-start player, and Jamal Williams has touchdown upside for sure. But even in a increased role last weekend when Swift was out, it was like 15 carries for 60 yards. He happened to find the end zone twice because Detroit was able to move the ball against a weaker defense. I don't think it's going to be that type of matchup without Amon-Ra, without Swift, without DJ Chark.
Right.
It's just so few options to be able to help them gain those first downs that get them into scoring position where Jamal is valuable.
Also, like, I'm not kind of endorsing this, but who else do you have starting running back right now? Maybe it's worth taking a look at starting both of them, like
That's
depending
true.
on who the other options are. So let us know in another comment, and we can assess the situation further. Just going down through the order, answering John again. Are you not worried about Deontay versus Sauce?
Yeah, I know the Jets boys keep bringing that up to me too. Sauce and AJ Green are both
Yeah,
ranked in
yeah,
the
yeah.
top 20 for coverage ratings in PFF right now. The Jets secondary looks really good, but it's a volume play. Again, the reason that I kind of like that matchup is I feel good about the Jets being
Right.
able to put points up, and as soon as the Steelers are behind, it's Deontay Johnson getting 35% of the targets, and if
Yep.
Mitch Trubisky has
Yep.
to
We
pass the
seen
ball
that.
32 times a game,
We
like
seen
that's
that.
yeah,
So yeah, there you go, John. That's the full answer. Let's keep going down the order. Tight end PPR. I'm assuming like tight end premium or just PPR. Tanyan or Conklin. I like Conklin. I like the
me
Conk.
too.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too. I was saying it last week on this episode you just got to start Tyler Conklin every week now.
yeah, yeah,
He's tight
yeah.
end
He's just
free.
been insane.
The only two tight ends that are ahead of him are the most elite options in the face of,
Travis Kelsey,
the
Mark Andrews.
NFL.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I got him late in a couple of drafts, and I'm so happy I did.
me too.
It was either him or Irv Smith, so 50% on that. Yeah, very happy with that. Very happy with that. So let's move. This one looks complicated. Zeke, DK, Jeff Wilson, DJ Moore, start one PPR. I went to shower every time I have to make this decision. It feels unclean. Yeah,
I think
start
this was very similar
one.
last week to Zeke.
Yeah, yeah.
Zeke,
It's
DK,
just not easy.
Jeff Wilson, DJ Moore. Okay, I'm gonna sit DJ Moore.
Yeah, you have to sit three.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to
Okay,
process of
just process of
elimination.
elimination. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
DJ. Um, it's kind of coming down to Jeff Wilson over Zeke. I mean, I know DK
Mm-hmm.
had that big blow up game last week. Still feel a little unsure about him. Obviously, he's kind of back in that tier two for me now, or low end
Mm-hmm.
tier two for me
Mm-hmm.
now. He did break upwards, but I'm still a little uncertain about him, and that offense in general.
Okay.
It's kind of coming down to Zeke or Jeff Wilson, and I think I'm going to take the upside in Jeff Wilson here.
I think I agree with that. Zeke, I was very high on Zeke to start the season, but he has not
Me
been what
too.
I
I,
expected.
me
So
too.
yeah, yeah, I think you have to go with Jeff Wilson full upside. Bound to make for an interesting. What is it? Not Monday night, right? They're Monday night,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
just bring some drama
An
to the end
interesting
of
sweat for
fantasy. And
sure.
what's fantasy for if not having fun, right? So yeah, do that. Do that. That's the recommendation. Have fun. All right, there you go, Boyd. Now, Joe, my man, Joe. Morning, boys. Marquise Brown or Sutton, full PPR. You mentioned Marquise Brown in the pre-game show,
Yeah,
pre-game show.
is
We'll
dealing with
take
a
it
foot
back.
injury,
Yeah,
so I don't know how concerned you should be. It's kind of
I'm
one
high
of
on
those
Sutton
situations.
this week.
Yeah, and so am I. So it's kind of one of those situations where you do have a really, really good option. I, I'm still going to shade towards Hollywood here, so we might disagree.
Mm,
But certainly like that. I understand the strategy, the upside. Like Sutton's, I might even have them. I would have to check, but I
back to
think within like,
back.
yeah, yeah, exactly, very close to one another.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
two spots apart in favor of Hollywood, but that was also before the foot injury cropped up in practice. So I'm not mad at leaning towards Sutton here, but I think I'm going to play Hollywood for that insane wide receiver one overall upside that he does possess.
Okay, okay. You know what? Just looking at the matchups they have, Hollywood does have a slightly better matchup, and Russ has not looked good in general.
Neither is
So,
Kyler really,
so I don't
but
blame him.
better than
So
Russ, I think.
just for the sake of roundness, I'm gonna agree with you and let's go Marquise. Like I can see the case for Sutton. Definitely can. I'm high on Sutton this week. Just Marquise has more potential and a better matchup in general, and arguably a better QB at the moment. So yeah, Marquise Brown. There you go, Joe.
Agreed.
Good luck with that. Jordan Riley, full flex PPR. Gabe Davis or Claypool? Your boy,
Gabe.
Gabe Davis. Hey,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan.
I know, I know.
Well known. And we're getting to that area, the 40 game career target share being sticky. So
Right.
like he's literally got 2 games left to essentially um
They are playing
kind of
Baltimore. That they just got lit up
and
by
and
Tua.
and so that was the where I'm leaning was easily on the matchup. I think Baltimore right now is the second like easiest team to score on it for wide receivers. So
Yeah, that might not hold up for a long, long time, but it's still something to consider at the
well,
moment. So I do like Gabe Davis this week, even though he has been slightly worse than people thought. Like people were enamored by that 4 touchdown performance, and I thought it was not gonna hold up. It has not held up as people expected, but I do think this is a good matchup for him. So Gabe Davis is my pick. All right, so again, Conklin, Schultz or Conklin, full PPR.
that one's a lot closer than Tunyon for
It's
sure.
yeah, it is much closer, but I still like the Conk.
I'm worried about oh that was where there we go. My bad, folks. One of the questionables that I missed was Dalton Schultz being a game time
There you go.
decision, and that being a is it an afternoon slot? There's a little bit of strategy in there if it is one of the later games. But I'm kind of shading towards Conklin here. Schultz
Yeah,
hasn't even he had one game with Cooper Rush kind of before the injury set in, didn't look incredible.
right.
Cooper Rush seems to want to funnel targets to Noah Brown and CeeDee Lamb. Michael
CD
Gallup is
Light,
a game.
as we call him.
Michael Gallup is also a game time decision. So
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna lean. I'm gonna lean Conklin. And the Steelers have been terrible against the tight end position.
Yeah. They have not. That they're both in good matchups, but the Jets have a better matchup against the Steelers in terms of tight ends. Also, Conklin is averaging more points per game, and he's not questionable right now. So that leans towards the Conk
Yeah,
for me. They do have Zach
I'm
Wilson
going with
back,
you.
and things might change a little bit. That's still a variable to consider, but I still like the Conk. So yeah, there you go. Uh, yeah, we were talking about no wide receiver at Detroit. We're talking
True,
about Jamal
true. No
Williams.
wide
So yeah,
receiver. Yeah, they went zero wide
Henry's his
receiver
RB
draft.
one, and I'm guessing with just one RB spot. So yeah, don't sit Henry for
Right.
Jamal Williams. That would be the
Yes.
right thing to do. Full PPR, Jeff Wilson or Pierce. I think we can agree on this, right? It's Wilson.
Jeff Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Easy
Yep.
one. Okay, Mike Williams versus Devonta Smith. Ooh,
I'm gonna.
Philly's the rain game,
Yes. So like
and
I was
Mike
saying, you
Williams
were
is
right
without
about the
Keenan.
weather. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Mike Williams is without Keenan Allen. So I think that just pushes me over the edge towards that side a little bit.
Yeah, the Philly weather's not good. Jacksonville's going to have a really, really tough time passing the football against them. Philly's run game has looked much better than it has in the past with Miles Sanders finally getting some volume there. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
game's going to have like, you know, 20 points scored, with 20 of them being for Philly. So I'm definitely not into the pass catchers in that rain game on either side of the football. Mike Williams without Keenan Allen, that's the game. That's the game to play.
yeah, yeah. So it's a game of situation right now, and he's in a better situation. So, yep, Boyd is right. It's the conk. And now John says Eckler or CPAT. Now I know, I mean, just in general, CPAT has averaged more points per game than Eckler has at this point. However, Eckler is probably still Austin Eckler deep down, and they're playing Houston, who are terrible against the running back. So if there's a
100%.
game,
I agree, Eckler, and not even deep down. He still lost an Eckler on the
yeah,
surface. Like the
yeah,
guy hasn't had less than 8 targets a game this season. Or no,
and that's
game
why you
one. Game one,
draft
he
Eckler
tied
for.
for team lead. Everybody on the offense had 4. So yeah, the last 2 games, especially with Herbert hurt, it looks like he's checking down a lot more. Yeah, Eckler had 8 receptions last week, so it's Austin Eckler for me, and Houston is arguably over the last 3 or 4 seasons the absolute best matchup for running backs, both in pass catching and rushing production. So
Yeah, yeah. So this is the week for an Eckler start. Also, we just had a strip sack in the London game as Minnesota recovers possession. So
yeah,
fun, fun. Go with Eckler,
Dalton's
by the way.
fun.
As it, I would say always says when Towns Conklin, his name is brought up. Yep, yep. So we have Alejandro now. Full PPR, Godwin or Mike Williams, half PPR. Wait. Do you like? Okay, well, let's take this one at a time. Godwin or Mike Williams? Is Godwin playing?
Yeah, but it's a 5:20 game. Well, I mean, he's game
Oh,
time decision, right?
right, right.
Trending towards, so
I'll be
is
right back.
Julio, but game time decision for Godwin in a 5:20 Pacific time game. Which means you could have sat Mike Williams and then Godwin doesn't show what he needs to in practice and is benched, much like we saw with Kamara in the London game, even though he traveled with the team. So
Right.
injuries like that, where teams and are kind of a little more open and saying like this guy is truly questionable, it will be a game time decision. If he goes, it might be unlimited snaps. When teams do
Yeah.
give you that information, you can take it for face value. They're not, usually they're not kind of hiding anything there, so to speak. So I think I'm going to lean Mike Williams, just for the safeness of having points in my lineup that I don't have to shuffle around, drop somebody, pick up a waiver wire because my 520 matchup isn't even playing. And
Yeah.
then half
Yeah.
PPR, who do you like more, Singletary or CEH?
Ooh.
Um,
Again with the Sunday night players.
right. So it's CEH. I'm man, I'm actually I think I'm gonna go Devin Singletary here. And the reason why is CEH is kind of being upheld by a lot of he's like this year's James Conner. He's had a lot of touchdowns. He's been incredibly inefficient, and his usage is really, really low. Like if you look at his snap share, it's below Jerick McKinnon, and his routes runner below Jerick McKinnon, and his rushing
Mm,
opportunity is below Isaiah Pacheco. And
mm.
it's like CEH is, you know, definitely having a phenomenal start to the season and is scoring a lot of touchdowns. And he finally looks like we kind of thought, where he was just going to be a product of how good that offense is. And, obviously has enough talent to be a starting NFL running back. So, that he's kind of started to uphold that, rookie hype. But it's also, I'm very scared when the bottom is going to fall out, because they are giving him like a bottom 50 opportunity share right now. And as
Oof.
soon as those touchdowns regress, Singletary is just somebody that gets eight carries and 4 targets a game,
Yeah, and something to consider
or,
as
or
well is
CEH rather.
yeah. I know what you meant. Tampa Bay is one of the toughest matchups for running backs right now. I think the second
100%.
toughest, while Baltimore has been very soft defense all around. They're a top 10 matchup for running backs, so that may push it over the edge. I think they're very very close, but like you said, those touchdowns are bound to go away eventually, and the matchup just dictates Singletary. I don't go solely on matchup, but when two players are this close, I think that the true matchup rank is gonna play a big role.
Yeah, and I think with Singletary too, like the 5 to 6 week aberration that we saw in 2021 is no longer an aberration, because we're into week 4 and he's been doing it every single week. Just set a career high in receiving production last week, and Josh Allen attempted 63 pass attempts. So Singletary is like low key the number 2 wide receiver on that offense, as far as volume is concerned. That production is going to waver a bit because they're obviously check downs and a lot of low A dot targets. But I
Mhm.
think it's fair to start ranking Singletary properly moving forward. And that really is a high end RB2.
Yeah, yeah. I like that though. So we're agreeing on Singletary, right?
Yep. And I mean,
There you go,
and if
Alejandro.
Marquise is out, would you start one of them over Lazard in the flex? Yes, I'd start either one of them over
Mm,
Lazard.
okay. Uh, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Just saying.
But I don't think Marquise
That's
is
why I
out.
didn't put
Marquise is
much.
expected to play.
He is. He is.
So yeah, there you go. Another week of you guys confirming my priors. There you go. That's the best feeling. Appreciate you fellas. Okay, we got
Appreciate
Smitty.
you, bro.
I don't think I've seen you around before. Welcome. Start two half PPR. Curtis Samuel, Jeff Wilson, DK Palmer. Tell you we would get a Palmer question in there. Curtis Samuel, we were weary of him against Dallas, so something to consider. Jeff Wilson, we did like over DK even
Over
in a previous
even,
question.
yeah, just as an upside thing. Here
So,
I'm thinking Wilson and DK actually.
mm, okay. I like the Wilson call. I'm just wondering if DK is worth a look against Palmer
Yeah, I
or
mean,
not.
I
Just
think so. I mean, I think so. I favor DK over Palmer here. I mean,
okay.
something that is kind of interesting though is
I
Josh
mean,
Palmer had.
Yeah.
more. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Palmer
No, no,
had
no.
more
Go ahead. Like
routes,
I agree with you, but go ahead. Keep
more
going.
routes, more targets, and identical snap share to Mike Williams last week. So I found that really interesting. And it seemed like he was kind of the byproduct of Justin Herbert not being able to heave 75-yard bombs into double coverage and have Mike Williams, go up and fall on his back and get those
Yeah.
balls. Herbert's hurt. He's laboring, and he's definitely having a bit of trouble pushing the ball down the field at his normal pace. So a lot more lower targets, which obviously I mentioned benefited Austin Eckler, but they also seem to benefit Josh Palmer. And he's always had kind of spike upside without either one of those aforementioned members of the receiving core in the lineup, but he kind of looked like he was a part of the game plan last week, where they were actually like game planning Josh Palmer targets. So I do see the upside there, but it's hard for me. Even though, like I said, I did move DK back up into that second tier after
Yeah.
being very
Yeah.
low on him in the first 2 weeks, and he did show me enough that he's still DK Metcalf. So that being said, if DK Metcalf can earn 8 to 10 targets a game consistently, which consistently is the key word there,
Yeah.
he has top 12 upside. He's shown it time and time again. So I think the upside for me lies with DK, and the safety for 7 points lies with Palmer.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. And I think DK does have. He's most likely not gonna put up a dud. So he's not super risk reward. So I agree with you. Okay, let's go with Wilson and DK for this question. Half PPR. Let's get it. Good luck, Smitty. And have to start Brady over Goff and KC. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. You're not starting Goff in general, especially not this week. I mean, I know he has had some good games, but not without any wide receivers or DeAndre Swift, right? So yeah,
Right.
Brady. Do you like Burks or Dubs? I don't know how to say his name. More for the
Dobbs,
rest of the
Dubs,
year.
Dubes. For the rest of
Not
the
this
year?
game. Yeah, rest of the year.
Oh, well, that's kind of like a dynasty question. So it's Burks.
Yeah, it's for
Yeah,
you.
I'd sell
It's for you.
Dubs. It's almost like a dynasty question. That's kind of just how my brain immediately works for things like that. Yeah, I would sell
Right.
Romeo Dubs. I would immediately look to
Okay.
get back in return kind of what I can. I'm not saying that he's not a good player and going to be a functioning member of that offense and have good weeks. I just think Trailon Burks is a clear better talent, and we see rookies progress and start to get more opportunity share as the season goes on. And I feel like Dubs has already met his opportunity share ceiling with how many injuries were in the offense last weekend. And he's just not a high hit rate player. This is what you get when you have, fourth round, 4-year seniors that were in a small athletic conference that only had, one season over a 20% target share. It's just the odds are stacked against Dubs. And yes, we've seen outliers in this situation, but Trailon Burks is not an outlier. He's a true alpha with phenomenal athleticism and 3 years of sturdy and steady production in the SEC. So the answer is easily Burks for me.
That's what you get when you ask Matt a dynasty question. You get the full explanation. But yeah, yeah, I think I agree. I like Burks. Dubs has I don't know. I'm not sold yet. But anyway, Boyd asks, we prefer Kittle with a point 0.5 tight end premium over Zeke as well. He's gonna block so much that it makes me feel stomach pain. I don't know, man. Because
Over Zeke? I don't know.
yeah, I don't think so. Not this game.
No, no, but no. Yeah, I'm starting Zeke over Kittle.
Yeah, yeah, marginally, especially with the tight end premium makes it super super close. But I still like a Zeke a little bit more. Yeah, we did not confirm your priors this time. I mean, the Titan premium does make it very, very, very close, but I just don't like the matchup, and Kittle has been off to a slow start. Brandon asks, Dallas Goddard or Conklin? Now it gets
Goddard's my
interesting.
bust this week.
Oh, so it doesn't get interesting.
I mean, yeah, I'm worried about Goddard in the face of Foy. That's one of my favorite defensive players in the league too. So I do have a bit of bias there. But man, Jacksonville's defense is no joke. They really have looked. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has looked as every bit of comfortable as he should, but Jacksonville's defense has really carried the day for them. And I'm definitely worried about Goddard in a matchup that like the rain is what it is. We talked about how I kind of not fading, but dropping those pass catchers down in my rankings just because of the weather and because of how difficult I think it is for Jacksonville to be able to score. Philly's going to be able to run the ball 30 times a game. So, and Goddard's targets share has taken a major step back from his career norm since AJ Brown has gotten there.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So, okay.
I'm going to go
It was
Conklin.
not as
Yeah.
hard as I thought it was going to be initially. It's still the conk, right? So, are you starting Kirk even with this weather?
It depends on what the pivots are, Smitty, because yeah, yes, I am in multiple places, so I can tell you that I have to. But that's because Christian Kirk has been what he is, and you drafted him not super high, but there's not a whole lot of there's been a lot of disappointments, a lot of differing things. So Kirk has been kind of an
Yeah,
every week
yeah.
starter, and his low A dot kind of tells us that if Jacksonville gets behind, even in the
Right.
rain, they'll probably give him zero point 0.2 yard targets. So yes, I am, but I would like to know the pivots because if I've had pivots, I've taken him out of lineups as well. But I'm starting him in lots of places.
Right, right. Yeah, so we need to know who you can start if you sit Kirk, right? So let us know. Well, we'll help you out. Or is this from a previous question? No, we haven't gotten any Kirk questions. CH bus season. Boyd is with you. I will play both Conkling and Goddard over Duvernay, but he always gets points from Lamar. Oof. So it just became like Goddard versus Duvernay, and
Duvernay.
I'm assuming no tight end premium. So
So it's just like a regular PPR play. I mean, the ceiling play is Duvernay. I think that's kind of
for sure, but it's also a
it's also
stud
the
possible
lowest
play.
floor
Yeah,
possible play. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because
So
Buffalo
the
has been
highest,
tough on wide receivers as well.
yep. And I mean, they don't have Minka Hyde, so that is where Duvernay could, I guess, pop off.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that back
Right.
end safety help where Minka Hyde is just such a phenomenal deep end coverage safety. But I would lean Goddard here. I think that's kind of like the safer play. Man, the rain, the pass catchers, all of that stuff worries me. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to lean with the talent of the player. Like that's legitimately all it's coming down to.
Okay.
And
Okay.
obviously, I think Goddard is much more talented than Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you have to make an analysis on how your team projects versus the other team. If you're projected to win by a lot right now, or like just when in general you feel comfortable with your team, go with
Right.
the safe ish play with Goddard. Because also it's a rain game. We gotta remember that as well, right? So, however, if you are projected to lose or need like a high point output from someone, go with Duvernay because he has the bigger chance of getting you that. Just breaking one for 60 yards, 60-yard touchdown, and that's just 12 points in one play, right? So
Yeah,
that's
I agree there. And I mean, that's like if you're down in a hole from Thursday night football, if somebody had Tyreek and
yeah,
T
yeah,
Higgins in
exactly,
their lineup,
exactly.
right? Yeah. Then if you need the upside, Duvernay. Yep. That makes perfect sense, Cass.
Yeah, so there you go. Smitty is giving us the. Oh, okay. First, we get to the Kirk question. So, Kirk in that Philly rain or McLaurin versus the Cowboys? Again,
See, that's a pivot I would make.
yeah. Again, well, the Cowboys are no joke though.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, Trayvon Diggs has actually looked like a decent corner this season compared
Right.
to last year where it was kind of just chasing interception
So, who are you
records.
sticking with? Because I'm
I
probably. Oh,
really,
go
you're gonna
ahead. Go
stick with
ahead.
Kirk here?
I mean, I'm I'm thinking about it because the Dallas defense has not been bad, and are they playing in Dallas or?
Yep, they're in the dome.
Okay. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Um, okay, so maybe yeah, McLaurin is the
Yeah,
right
that's
choice.
exactly kind of the theoretical pivot that I was talking about. If I had
Mm,
another, top 25 projected wide receiver in that lineup that, didn't need to be a starter for whatever reason, maybe I went zero running back.
right.
But those are the pivots that I'd be willing to make.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The McLaurin does sound kind of nice. Although the Cowboys defense is very good, The Philly
So
defense is
is, I
also
mean,
very good,
Darius Slay is also the best cornerback in the
and they're
NFL.
in the rain, right?
Yeah,
So okay,
Philly
now Smitty
defense has
has the
been
options.
nasty.
So we had Kirk, we knew that, Curtis Samuel, and Josh Palmer, and Adam Thielen, but a little bit late for that, right?
Right,
So Kirk, Curtis Samuel, Joshua Palmer.
Josh Palmer.
Yeah, yeah, we talked about him a little bit earlier. Now that we've established the pivot points, I think Palmer is a good one.
Yeah, I think
They, I think,
Curtis Samuel's a tough one. I've really enjoyed Curtis Samuel's start to the season, but I still think that Terry's going to have his pop off games, and obviously his touchdown upside, his contested catches are undeniable. But Curtis Samuel would kind of be right where I draw that line. I would probably start Christian Kirk over Josh Palmer, but that's a decent pivot as well. And Curtis Samuel is essentially right where I would draw that line, like wide receiver 24, wide receiver 25,
right.
because I have Kirk at 20 right now.
20.
Hmm.
Okay, that does sound fairly normal, right? Like
Yeah.
around what
Well,
you
I mean, it's
expect.
definitely lower than his ECR and his, current trajectory of projections. So I dropped Samuel down a little bit facing the Philly defense. Or sorry, dropped Kirk down a little bit facing the Philly defense, and
Right.
Samuel and McLaurin down right around that range as a low end wide
Mm-hmm.
receiver two there. So that, I mean, yes, I know that my rankings are saying he's higher, but that's exactly where I would draw that pivot line, because linear rankings are weird. I like kind of grouped rankings a little more,
Yeah,
and they're
like
kind of
tiered.
in the same group. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what's your final answer?
Curtis Samuel.
All right, Curtis Samuel it is. So wait, you're going Samuel over Palmer.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So there you go, Smitty. That's the answer. Pivot now. Hopefully, the rain holds up and we don't look like idiots later today. But yeah, should have gone with Thielen. Whoops. No, I'm kidding. J Rob RB1 this week. Okay, I
Not
trust
really
you.
a
Yeah,
question, but
I
yep.
mean, yeah, we need bad weather. Yeah. All right, let's go to Joe, good friend Joe. I know this is a stupid question, but I got to get a win. Taylor versus Tennessee, or Pierce versus the Chargers full PPR. I have K Herbert in my other RB spot. It's got to be Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, there are no stupid questions, but it's comfortably
But this
Jonathan
one's
Taylor.
close, says Matt.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. We're kidding. We're kidding.
Yeah, I know it's comfortably Jonathan Taylor, and 100% I'm starting Khalil Herbert over Damian Pierce. Like, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
even,
Oh
wouldn't
yeah.
even worry about it.
For sure. Yeah. So there you go. Looks like you had it right. You needed to ask anyway. That's all right. Like we all
I'll
need that
confirm your priors.
reassurance. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
We all need that reassurance for sure. We got fan first. Should I stick with Kirk? And again, another Kirk
Oh, I'd
question
go
is
with
going to be
Bateman.
highly debated. Bateman also rain or McLaurin versus Cowboys on the bench. Bateman. Bateman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the Philly's a little closer to the coast. They're actually getting some of that hurricane. It's just like a little spillover in Buffalo. So the rain game is like Philly has high winds as well, is why that's a little more concerning there. And we've kind of talked about the Buffalo secondary and how high scoring that matchup's going to be. It's the highest over under of the week. Rashad Bateman, and I have Bateman ranked ahead of Kirk this week as well.
So okay, there you go. So just a straight up question, and that's what else do you need, right? We got a straight up answer. Start the Eagles or Rams defense?
Eagles,
Definitely the Eagles. Yeah, for sure
100%.
the
Rams
Eagles.
defense is struggling. I don't care what that front seven looks like, and I know that PFF grades them high and whatever. That defense is struggling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and just in terms of fantasy points, no question. Especially in the rain. The rain helps the defense. That's what we
100%.
need to realize, right? So we were worried about all these players on offense being affected by the rain. The rain helps the defense. More picks, less points. So yeah, there you go. B Hop, 89. John asks, "Is it time to panic with ETN?" I know
No,
you're ETN guy, so I'll let you take this one.
in redraft, it's definitely a little bit of a worry. I wouldn't panic yet. He's not a drop for me. If you could sell on a good return, I would advise that in seasonal leagues. In Dynasty, um, like I play in a lot of dynasty leagues and some pretty sharp markets there too. So when people really aggressively start trying to buy low on a player, that's when you know you shouldn't panic. Right? Because the
Right.
entire market is still valuing them as somebody that's going to have a gigantic upside swing at one point in time soon in the season. They're not expecting that necessarily to hold value over a year because we've seen how volatile player value can be once they've actually made it to the NFL. That's why picks are so valuable, right? They don't have names attached to them. They just accrue value. So
Yeah.
it's time to panic from a seasonal standpoint a little bit, but only if you can get a decent pivot. I would just hold if there's no decent pivot and feel pretty decent about holding. Last week was I think the first week that we actually saw what Travis Etienne is capable of on limited touches, and he's very explosive. And it's only a matter of time before I think that backfield becomes a little bit more of a committee. And Etienne would have upside similar to Tony Pollard as a weekly flex with
Hmm.
top 12 upside in that offense. So I'm not panicking yet. I'm worried though. But only if I guess I don't have like if I drafted ETN as my RB1, then I'm panicking.
Now we have a Nick Beaulieu answer. So Jackson are gonna keep winning games at the rate they are. So I'd say I'm buying low on ETN. So yeah, there you go. That's kind of what you were saying. Not time to panic just yet. Okay, we got Rudy says Ramondre St. Jones or Mac Hollins. I love Mac Hollins this week.
All right. Yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
I know it's like the
no
chalky
Hunter Renfro again.
play. Yeah, no Hunter Renfro, and like he sneakily has been getting targets. I know he blew up last game, but 2 games ago he had like 10 targets as well. So this is not as fluky as people think, but it's also not as exciting as people think. But I do like me some Matt Collins. So I'm guessing it's just start one. I see his full PPR in the next comment. So what are your thoughts here? I already gave a preview of my
I think I'm
thoughts.
going to go with you here. My gut kind of said Ramondre at the start, but
Yeah, yeah, I
I
feel that.
think it's Mac Hollins. And again, we'll reiterate is I'm worried about that Jaguars offense being able to pass the ball today. So Zay's a little bit of a fade for me. I'll go with you.
Yeah,
I'll go with you. I like Mac Hollins, and I'm a target guy. I just like targets. I like opportunities through the air. So Mac
yeah,
Hollins.
they're both in bad matchups, to be honest. Both
Yeah.
Ramondre and Matt Collins. Green Bay stuff against running backs, Denver stuff against wide receivers in general. But I think the opportunity is there, and he's been getting it because we gotta understand just because the starter or the wide receiver in front is injured doesn't mean the next guy up is gonna produce most of the time. But Matt Collins has shown that he can get those targets, so I like it. I like it a lot. So yeah, full PPR too. So if he's getting the targets, he's getting the PPR points as well. Ramondre has not been getting targets as people thought he might. But there you go. Rudy, good luck. Andrew, Colts Commanders or Steelers defense?
Hmm.
You were the
Commanders.
DST whisperer, right? Last week. So
Uh, Commanders against Dallas in the dome.
Dallas,
Cooper Rush.
Steelers against the Jets and
Probably a
Zach
lower.
Wilson
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, right?
in Pittsburgh.
Okay, okay. Now Washington away in the dome though in Dallas. I like defenses on a fast track. And then the Colts. The Colts play the Titans. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Okay, the Colts play
Yep.
the
Yeah.
Titans.
Yeah.
That over under is at 43. I'm gonna go with the Colts defense here.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I
Yeah,
mean, they
I'm gonna
have
go with the
they were
Colts
a
D. I
top
think
option last year. They have disappointed this year a little bit. A couple like
Shaq
two
Leonard's back
five
though.
points performance. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
Yep.
So okay, yeah, DST is always a little bit of a crapshoot. There's always one that scores 2 touchdowns and gets like 7 sacks and breaks the
I mean,
slate.
that could be the Steelers but I'm not ready to give up on Zach Wilson. I'll just put, I'll say that much.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I like
Especially
that.
with those
Okay,
options, man. So many
that's
good
fine.
offensive weapons now.
Yeah, yeah, that's I don't disagree with that. So Boyd says the rain makes me so sad. I love Zay Jones. Zay Jones is cool. Honestly, he is. Let's go to Charles. He asked. I think he was the one that asked a question yesterday. Good
Yep.
morning. Happy week 4. Happy week 4 to you too. Got like a ugly one. Judy, Ayuk, Hollins, Gage, or Melgo. We just talked about
Pick
Hollins.
one.
Oh, pick one. Is it? Yeah,
I would
half
assume, yeah.
PPR. I guess so. Yeah. So my eyes moving towards Ayuk, Hollins again.
Same. Yeah, it's I actually would have maybe Jerry Judy over Hollins, but Ayuk over both of them, so that was kind of easy for me.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you start
And
to
Russell Gage
wonder.
again is like I would in a vacuum I would want Russell Gage. I think if Chris Godwin and Julio didn't play, but Mike Evans is going to play no matter
Right.
what. And Gage, inside of that offense in the first 2 weeks, and I know we don't really have a large enough sample size, but when that offense was healthy, Gage simply was not a viable option.
Nope, definitely not.
So
And
yeah,
not a fan. Not a fan.
and not really knowing if those two guys are going to come in and vulture all of his opportunities, I would kind of be okay with fading him this week. And then I love me some Brandon Ayuk, and I think he's looked like he's going to look a lot better with Jimmy G at the helm, even though Jimmy G has looked absolutely terrible. It's just more passing opportunities in general, and Brandon Ayuk isn't in the doghouse and earns targets at elite rate.
Right. Right. Now we got another DST question: Steelers D or Jags D?
Jags D, that one's easy.
And
That
in the
one's easy
rain
for
too.
me. In the rain, but I know against Philly, like I get it, but the Jags defense has been really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They have.
they're getting a lot of QB pressures. I don't know how most defensive scorings are set. Some of them are different, but they are getting a lot of sacks as well. Good rate of QB pressures, like I was saying. Their secondary is the best in the NFL. Darius Slay is arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. Piss and rain, it's going to be
Probably.
a lot of running, which the Jags are very good at stopping. So I'm feeling good about the Jags defense there. The Steelers defense does kind of have that blow up upside of a DFS play where they
Yeah.
randomly
Yeah.
get
Like
three picks
Minka
against Zach
Fitzpatrick pick
Wilson.
six. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I like
Right.
the Jags defense in general.
Oh, we got one from Nick. Did you guys know that if you pay for the Broto Patreon, you get exclusive Patreon episodes, access to the Broto Discord, waiver wire ranks, DFS optimizers, and more? I did not know that. Did you know that?
Wow. It's only $3 a month too, which is
Wow,
wild.
that's what a bargain, eh? Hashtag plugged. Yeah, yeah, we have.
Thanks,
Let's take
Vic.
a break from the questions, and why don't you tell me about your sleepers and busts for this week? Because if you don't
Awesome.
know, at Broto we run a weekly article where part of the staff is gonna give you sleepers and busts for every position. So yeah, let's get to yours.
So first one, I'll go to a QB sleeper because somebody we haven't talked about. We have talked about my bust a little bit through
Yeah,
six way six 6 degrees of the Eagles defense. But my sleeper this week for the quarterback position is Marcus Mariota.
nice. I like that.
Mariota's he's averaging 17.3 points per game right now, which is QB 13 through the first 3 games. He ranks fourth in quarterback carries with 25, 8.3 per game. He leads the NFL in red zone rushing attempts, looking like Ryan Tannehill of last year. He's got 8 inside of the 20, 92 rushing yards, averaging 30.7 per contest, which is 7th amongst quarterbacks this season. He's just got a solid floor that is sustained by his rushing production, which so far has looked like it's week in, week out. He's going to take off and get some good yards that are going to uphold at least a solid enough floor that he's looking like almost an every week starter, let alone a streamer. And the Falcons face off against the Browns in week 4. That defense is conceding 20 points per game to opposing quarterbacks, but they're explicitly struggling with stemming the success of rushing production. Yeah, of quarterbacks. So 4.7 of their points per game, those 20 points per game, are to rushing quarterbacks specifically. So just on the ground, 92.2% over the expected average. And they're allowing 63.1% over the average to wide receivers. And we've seen Drake London look like an every week
Yes,
starter and a consistent target earner and somebody that is going to put up good yards after the catch numbers, which obviously helps Mariota. And they're starting to feed Kyle Pitts a little more. He had 40% target share last week, and he's the
thankfully.
monster that exactly. And he's the, yards after the catch monster that we always thought and always knew. He just hadn't been getting the opportunities. So Mariota has good weapons and good yard after the catch weapons. Cordarrelle Patterson again. So I think
Right.
against that Browns defense, who has been struggling to stem wide receivers, running backs, pass catchers in general, and quarterback rushing production, I feel really good about Marcus Mariota this week.
Nice. 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 What about your bust? Well, we talked about him a little bit, but
A
just
little
if you
bit,
want, if
but
you care to
we'll run
elaborate,
through
yeah.
it. pretty quick. Yeah, it's Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is my QB's bust. Eagles conceded 11 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Just 11. That's 49.1% below expected average for the position. They only allow 186.7 passing yards per game. They're playing in a hurricane, and they can shut down
Right.
all areas of the field. So the Eagles front seven is equally as imposing as their secondary, which I think people are, it's a byproduct of each. Defensive units can create interceptions because quarterbacks have to make quick and bad
Right.
decisions.
Right.
They're ranking second, just one behind the league lead with 12 sacks through 3 contests. And Lawrence's best game against the Colts, he wasn't sacked at all, and he was only pressured 3 times, according to PFF. So today is not going to be that sit in the pocket and hang out against the Colts secondary. The Eagles are going to get to Trevor Lawrence. And
Right.
although he has looked good, and I even highlighted that I was most excited about the Chargers matchup last week, because if Lawrence can do it against a good defense, I'm going to be really excited. And he did, but he still has yet to face a defense like the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh yeah, and just the cherry on top is that awful weather. So there you go. Bust Canada all the way. Let's get back to some questions. Full PPR, flex, AJ Dillon, J.K. Dobbins, Julio Jones, Romeo Dubs. Okay, good morning, brothers. Have a great Sunday from Tom Brady Stan #GOAT. No high school grades this
This
week.
time, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So okay, I guess we have to pick one full PPR. Dillon, Dobbins, Julio, Romeo.
So Dylan
Dillon?
against the New England defense is kind of not something that I'm super into.
Oh,
I would think I prefer Dobbins over Dylan.
I
Ah,
don't know
man,
about
maybe
Dobbins,
not
bro.
actually. It's really tough with Dobbins. I just need to see
Yeah,
that opportunity share go back to 70%. As soon as it does, I'm going to call him a must start guy. But until he
yeah.
has
When that
70%,
happens, when that
when,
happens, right?
when,
Because
or I
New
mean,
England has
or
not been
if.
tough against running backs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm kind of just using their reputation in their favor a little bit.
Yeah, no, they're top 10 matchup against running backs.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they allow plus 50% true matchup rank, well, points over average receiving, and plus 12% rushing, so both positives, and that just makes them a top 10 matchup. Honestly, I'm leaning Dylan here.
yeah.
Not
I
not
mean, that
not
was
considering Julio
those
or Romeo.
those bars just convinced me. Yeah,
Yeah,
AJ
yeah, look
Dillon.
at that. Top 10 matchup. Let's get it. If you want to know more about true matchup ranks and points over average, download the Fantasy Football by Broto app. Go to I think it's True Matchups in the menu, and you can see how defenses allow points over average to running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. And points over average means, instead of looking at how many points they have allowed in general, like how many points do players score over their average, right? So because if you have two teams that both are allowing, I don't know, 6 points to tight ends, you say, okay, so they're a similar matchup. But one team played Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey, and the other team played, I don't know, Brevin Jordan and Mike Gesicki, right? So which one is more impressive? The team that held
Right.
Andrews and Kelsey to 6 points, or the team that held Brevin Jordan and Mike Gesicki to 6 points? Obviously, the one that held Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey. And that would show up in points over average because it would look like a very large negative points over average for that defense, right? So that's how that works. If you want to see all those points over average rankings and percentages, go to the Fantasy Football by Broto app Store, Google Play Store, anywhere you want. True matchup, hit it.
For free.
For free. Yeah, by the way, the app is free. Boyd, your words to God's ears, man. I'm starting Mariota over Stafford and wasn't sure how crazy the answer was. Just crazy enough. Yeah. Yeah,
I think that's
Mariota.
actually the right move. I'm not mad at that at all. And I was answering some start sit questions on Twitter today, and somebody asked if they were crazy for starting Mariota over Brady, and the start sit tool in the app favors Mariota this week.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Nothing else to debate. Nick Bordier says, been debating Russ versus Mariota all week. I love to hear him as a sleeper. Yeah, especially with Russ as your other option because he has the name, he has the tools, he just doesn't have it for
That's
fantasy,
I'm
right?
making that exact switch in a dynasty league this morning. I made it I made it actually after I wrote the article before I sent it in, but yeah. I
Yeah,
pulled Russ out of my super flex spot and put Mariota in.
yeah. Look at that. So no, not nothing else to play here. So there you go, Nick. Now B Hop is back. Start Marcus or Herbert at QB. Well,
Herbert. I mean,
it's not
I'm
that
gonna
deep.
draw the line at a top 5 quarterback. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. So yeah. Oh, Jake from IT has some comments on the DST discourse. Is Browns are top two pass rushers are out Clowney and Garrett. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
Something else
mean,
to consider.
feeling even better about that Mariota matchup.
I have a personal question for this one. You going Russ or you going Trubisky?
Russ.
Yeah. It's also
It's
not
not
that
that
deep.
bad. It hasn't
I
gotten
mean,
that
it
bad.
has been.
I mean, it has. Okay, like yeah, from a points per game perspective, it absolutely has gotten that bad. But from a narrative perspective, I'm not starting Trubisky. Like
Right, right.
probably not the. I mean, definitely Mariota, but there's a few other like even Ryan Tannehill. I would probably start Russell Wilson over him. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah,
Okay, so I think we have an easier one next. Cowboys D or Tampa? It's Cowboys, right?
Cowboys. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, for this game, for next week, for the rest of the season, yes, yes. Mika Parsons, Defensive Player of the Year.
yeah, and also they're not playing the Chiefs, right? So that's
Well,
also
yeah,
something to
and
consider.
that's a bit, yeah, that's definitely something to consider. One of them plays the Commanders at home in a dome.
True, true, true. Well, the dome thing is not great for the defense.
I like fast. Well, I mean, for Dallas's defense, it is, man. They put up a lot more pressures on that fast track.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, the answer is Cowboys, not Tampa. Charles is back. Not in love with my RB flex situation, but I do have nearly 30-point lead. That is good information for to make a decision.
It's true.
Hale got to start two full PPR: AJ Dillon, Damian Harris, Khalil Herbert. Start Herbert. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You answered yourself.
And Dylan, yeah, 100%. No, yeah, you just want to confirm your priors. We're here for that, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dylan and Herbert.
I mean, yeah. You just made our job so much easier. So W's in the chat for Boyd. You already talked about your quarterback sleepers. How about the Titan sleeper that you also? I mean, sorry, Titan bust that you mentioned.
Well, yeah. So it's Dallas Goddard. And I actually kind of wrote this before the weather looked as bad as it did today. So, I mean,
It
looking like a
looks even better
savant,
now.
but
Yeah,
but the Jaguars defense is giving opposing offenses fits to begin the 2022 season, and it's been 3 games in, 3 games out. The best part of that team is the defense. The addition of reigning tackle champ Foyesade Olacoin, who I've absolutely love, and Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, the rookies, just flipped the unit into an opposing force seemingly overnight. They concede just 5.4 points per game to the tight end position, which is 42.5% below the expected average. Goddard's career target totals are way down, which we've talked about. He's averaging just a 14.9% target share, down from his like 18 to 20% that we've seen whenever he would stead for Zach Ertz. And then obviously last season to close out after Ertz got traded, he maintained a very high target share as well.
that he did.
And he's not just the target share, but the opportunity share in the red zone in general. He's fourth option in the red zone behind Brown, Smith, and Sanders for red zone opportunities this season. And again, facing one of the toughest matchups for tight ends. I'm not going to be at all surprised to see him fall well below his projections and outside of the top 15 this week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a good bust. And now to your sleeper tight end. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna
I
let you
would
take a sip. I'm gonna let you take a sip.
no. And I mean, last week, I was going to say last week, I almost had a perfect record. And then Evan Ingram disappointed me as my sleeper. So tight end sleepers, I'm a little struggling on. It's hard to find a good tight end sleeper these days.
It is. It is. They're very matchup dependent. They're very inconsistent. So yeah.
But I think I've got one for you.
Okay.
um, David Njoku was raked outside of the top 16 tight ends in ECR this week, and he's fresh off the heels of a monstrous showing against the Steelers in week 3. We talked about how the Steelers traditionally struggle against the tight end position. Um, but he took 10 or caught 9 of his 10 targets for 89 yards and 1 touchdown, finishing with 23.9 PPR points, which was tight end 2 last week. He ranks second on the team in target share, 18.2%, which is tight end 7, behind only Amari Cooper. And he's played 91.2% of the offensive snaps, ranked tight end 4, and again, second on the team. 37 of his snaps have come from the slot this season, which ranks as the number 2 tight end in the NFL behind only Mark Andrews, which drives home the fact for me that Njoku's not only the Browns starting tight end, but he really is their number 2 wide receiver. We saw Donovan Peoples-Jones have a big target share in week 1 and then just disappear in week 2 and week 3. The options behind that are David Bell, who's had just 7 targets this season. And I mean, that's
really
it.
Bad.
That's where it ends. And you thought kind of that, leading in, it was going to be Kareem Hunt is just the de facto wide receiver 2, his target share. And that's just not the case as well. And it's much less of a committee than it's ever been in Cleveland as well. Like Nick Chubb is, I'm not going to call him a handcuff at this point, Hunt rather. But Nick Chubb is really the lead back this season, at least through 3 games. And the opportunity share and the snap percentage shows it. So the Falcons are giving up 12.3 points per game to tight ends, which is, pretty good. It's 24th and 38.7 points per game to wide receivers, which is 29th. Their secondary is just bad. AJ Terrell is the only bright spot there, and he's kind of been getting torched a little bit this season too. So, yeah, I mean, combining those two, because I did say that he's a wide receiver as well. The Browns are 1.5 point favorites in a surprising over under of expected points, which is 47.5. I think 4th highest total of the slate, which kind of just reflects both defenses' inability to stop offensive production this season. I'm not saying it's going to be like a huge shootout matchup, but I am saying that when you're streaming tight ends and looking for sleeper tight ends and guys that are undervalued or underrated, the thing that I want the most is opportunity share. And the second thing that I want the most is a defined role as a pass catcher specifically. And his slot snaps and target share kind of indicate that he really is the wide receiver 2 on that offense.
That is a very good perspective on it. I hadn't really thought about it to that extent, but I might go pick him up before the games today. See, like, hold him, maybe use him as a trade piece later, because that looks good. I usually like to have a solid tight end setup for all my leagues, so I'm not really tight end needy. However, if I can use him as a trade piece, that could be very interesting. So that's another piece of advice. A sleeper, you don't have to necessarily put him in your lineup. So if it's someone you have to pick up and from waivers or as a free agent, you can just hold on to them. Use them as leverage later on in the season if they do blow up for like if it's like a 1 game sleeper, just get them, have them play nice, trade them, and you just made a profit, right? So
100%.
Yeah. There you go.
I think Njoku is actually a prime candidate for that exact strategy as well, because he is widely available. He is incredibly cheap, and he is continuously being ranked pretty low in ECR. And another one of those reasons to that specific position is like the tight end landscape is just dirty. It's gross. Tyler Conklin's tight end 3 with 12.8 per game, right? And I mean, that's fucking awesome, but it's not like those aren't super league breaking assets. Those are just guys that you can plug and play and produce above average. But when you have a guy like people reached on Dawson Knox, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, trying to think of just so many tight ends that were drafted ahead of David Njoku, and David Njoku puts up 2 back-to-back weeks of top 5 tight end, boom, then trade him in a package for a position that you can truly upgrade for what is league breaking upside.
Right. So, yeah, nothing to add to that. You nailed it. So go read that article, The Sleepers and Busts. You can also check out Boyd and Nick on the article covering running backs and wide receivers. So go get a look. We've Boyd has shared some hints in the chat, same as Nick. So go see what they're talking about. Let's keep going. Big Will. Wow, Kaz going with the business look. Yeah, looking great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he's.
You're right on time. We still got 25 minutes left in this, as the Saints just scored a touchdown. So your
Chris
boys,
Olave, the real deal.
Yeah, I'm going against
him. I mean, that was earlier.
Mike has him in the league, so I'm not too happy. But yeah. So yeah, new look. Also, shout out Will. He broke the Camara news in the Broto Discord 1 hour before Sleeper did. So he got the scoop. He got
Yeah.
the scoop. Shout out him. Okay, we got one from Christopher. He asked, full PPR, DK or Judy?
We had a similar, but it was like
We
start
did.
two,
It
and
was yeah, it
I
was
did
four
lean
four
DK over
guys
Judy. Yeah. So I'm gonna lean DK over Judy there.
for sure, for
Although I
sure.
do want to say from a dynasty perspective, like Jerry Judy had 7 targets for 100 yards and a touchdown, and then was hurt and on limited snaps, and now like everybody just hates the guy. So I do still like Jerry Judy. Upside play for me is DK, and definitely would like to see the Denver offense do things before I feel good about Jerry Judy.
Sure, sure. That makes sense. That makes sense. So DK it is. Full PPR. All right, Christopher. Smitty's back. Another question. I know the feeling of just being not sure about anything. So torn completely on Kirk. Having currently a wide receiver, 2 flex are Jeff Wilson and DK. I don't know. Yeah, Jeff Wilson and DK with Curtis Samuel and Palmer on the bench. Half PPR. We talked about like that tier break. So Curtis Samuel, you mentioned was your tier break. Well, what are your
Yep.
thoughts here?
Yeah, that's exactly is Curtis Samuel is the lowest kind of end tier break. I have him and Terry essentially back to back again at that low end wide receiver 2, 23, 24 sort of range. And Kirk around 20. So I'm comfortable with that pivot. That is exactly where I draw the line for that pivot is that last tier of low end wide receiver 2s, which I have Kirk kind of sitting in the middle of, or at the top of rather. So I do feel comfortable with that pivot with Curtis Samuel specifically. DK
Hmm.
should stay in that lineup over
Yeah, for
Josh
sure.
Palmer, I
For
think.
sure. For sure.
And same with Jeff Wilson, absolutely. So you
Yeah, I
have the
think the
setup
the, the
correct.
only the only question mark was Kirk, right? So
Yeah. I think you have that setup correct. Yeah, I would make the pivot to Curtis Samuel.
all right, so there you go, Smitty. Hopefully that answers your question. John says Devin Lloyd, defensive rookie of the year.
Kayvon Thibodeau, but yes.
I mean, he is a little bit behind. You know, he had that
Well, I mean, he hasn't
handicap.
he played one
Yeah,
game or whatever, right?
right,
So
right, right. So
yeah,
he has
no,
a lot
and
of
I
ground
mean,
to cover.
in all honesty, it 100% does look like it's Aiden Hutchinson.
It's gonna be an interesting run. Definitely not as good
A-
as it was last year with
Aiden
Micah. But
Mika probably deserved defensive player of the year, let alone defensive rookie of the year.
who won the player? So JJ Watt? No, TJ Watt.
Yes.
Right. But yeah,
And I mean,
so John,
yeah, Aiden does just look absolutely ridiculous right now, man. Kid's got a sack
he
in
has
every
been pretty
game,
good
3 sacks in one game. Like yeah.
for sure. For sure, he has been insane. Deservedly, he was the second pick. Sorry, second pick, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because the Jags needed a part of that Georgia defense, so they went with I mean, I guess yeah, everybody got a part of that Georgia defense, really. Like, but yes, yeah, the Jags went Trayvon Walker.
Yeah. Georgia was Jordan Davis was Georgia as well. Georgia as well, right?
Yeah, they
Georgia
had
too.
13 players, and there's only 11 on the starting defense, but Georgia had 13 players drafted in the first 2 rounds from that
That's
defense
insane.
that won the national
That is
championship.
insane. That is
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. All right. Smitty says, "Thanks, boys. Nice to hear out loud sometimes. Good luck." Yeah. Yeah. I
And
agree.
that's a tough man. That is a tough one too. And like, you can come at me on Twitter if Kirk has a blow up 15 reception for 40 yards in the rain game. I apologize, but it's exactly it's just a theory thing, and that's kind of where I draw the line. Is there are capable pivots at that low end wide receiver 2 range.
Yeah. It is. When that pivot happens is very like very tough to track down, right? So, oh, John is making the case for Lloyd. Now he says 2 picks in 3 games, 26 tackles,
I
and
love
second
it.
in pass breakups in the
Second pass
league.
breakups in the league.
So I'm just first of all, I'm guessing John, you're a IDP guy. Yeah, play a lot of fantasy IDP, or just a Lloyd fan in general. And now
Maybe
as
a
a Duck, right?
Utah fan, and I'm a Ducks fan, so we might have a little bit of a maybe there's some bias on both sides of the the line here.
Yeah,
But no, I mean Devin Lloyd has looked really phenomenal, but there's also like you're talking about, not to get into it too much, I guess, but talking about, player voting and the way that those votes allocate is pass rushers are sexy, man, and people like sacks. Big Jags guy. Oh, there we go.
People love picks, but they're always not always indicative I mean, D-back's talent, right? So, oh, so we just had the breaking news that Cordell Patterson is officially healthy and playing.
Okay.
So, same for Josh Reynolds, who has been a popular plug and play guy now that DJ Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown
I was
are
surprised we
out.
didn't have more Josh Reynolds
Yeah,
questions
yeah, yeah.
because I
Honestly,
would have said probably anybody but.
really, not a
I'm
fan
not.
of
I mean,
Josh.
no, I don't. Like, I don't care that all of those guys are out and he may
Right,
be the only
right.
one. Like, that just doesn't. I mean, Josh Palmer has never been somebody that consistently earns targets. He's never been somebody that consistently puts up points, even in increased roles. He's had, I think, like 2 games of his career over 15 points. So I'm just not like, there's definitely better options. There's better streamers. I picked him up in a couple leagues to kind of play keep away. I'm not starting him
Yeah,
though. I
yeah.
just don't want other people to start him.
That's the one. So I'm talking about like if you have the chance to pick them up, have them on your bench, have them blow up like possible. You're not risking starting them, but if they blow up, you trade them right away. It's the perfect opportunity to your unsuspecting league mates, right? So that's one of those. I'm definitely not starting him anywhere. I don't think because we talked about like just because the guy in front of you is hurt and you're playing doesn't mean you're gonna get the targets. Mike Collins, for example, did get the targets. He has been pulling those targets. You need to be able to pull those targets. I put a study, I think a year ago, about how wide receivers control their own target share. It's not dependent on QBs or who's in front of them. Like we see it in Green Bay right now. No one's pulling an alpha target share, even though they should, right? So it's not
Exactly.
about your competition. It's about who you are. It's about that dog. It's about that dog in you. But anyway, let's keep going with the questions. Vito, Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer, or Godwin if he plays. That's the key phrase here because you're not gonna know because this is a Sunday night game, right? This is not
Hmm.
a early slate or even an afternoon slate. This is a Sunday night game. So that if he plays could be too late. And out of the other two, I'm going Elijah Moore.
Same.
So I think I'm going Elijah Moore straight up, not risking it with Godwin. I don't want to zero in my lineup
Agree.
come Sunday night and just cry. So do you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we're on the same page. There you go, Vito. Tropiano. John Mueller says, do I flex Michael Carter over Burks, Dubs, or Allen Robinson? Uh, Scoring setting might be interesting here. What are your thoughts?
In a vacuum, I think, and I did say Burks rest of season, but in a vacuum here, I think it's Dubs.
Yeah, because it's a different rest of season over like single game stuff, right?
Right. Yep. And last week was the first week that we actually saw, and it was trending towards the line from week 1 to week 2. And then week 3, Brees Hall finally had more snaps. Michael Carter only had 2 targets to Brees's 11.
Yep.
And then they split
Yep.
rushing work down the middle. So,
We'll see how the Zach Wilson switch
and
plays out.
I had a little like underrated theory that kind of popped up into my head after seeing that opportunity share. Cause I
It
love
is full
the
PPR,
usage
by the
data
way.
that we have on the, it is full. Then definitely Dubs. That makes it a little easier over Michael Carter or Burks.
Yeah, definitely not
But I think
Carter.
there was an underlying narrative that maybe I'm looking into a little too much, but that also holds some water here. Is that it makes sense that they weren't running Brees as a full workhorse without Zach Wilson in the lineup.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like it
okay,
makes sense that
go ahead.
you're
Keep
not
going.
showing all of your cards without your starting quarterback.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. That's
Just
not
I
the
was just thinking
final
about
offense.
it.
That's not the offense they designed, right?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Exactly. That is not the offense that they designed for the 2022 season. This is. And we start to see that ramping up of Brees's workload.
Right, right. So this could be the game where they unleash Breeze, send Michael Carter to the Rio backup job. So the answer just is Burks or Dubs. Maybe Robinson, you can sprinkle him in, but I think it's Dubs. However, the New England defense has been super tough on wide receivers. They have not allowed much. Does that change your perspective at all, or no?
Um, Not so much. Burks just hasn't had snaps or opportunities, man, and it was not even really trending up, but he had some good peripherals like targets per route run and yards per route run and stuff because they were such minimal routes. But then in week 3, like Robert Woods played 100% of the snaps and had 9 targets, and Burks didn't. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And man, that was the
The
storyline all the way leading into, and just because of like how off-season storylines have treated us in the past, people just ignored it, and like we're like, that's that. This is Trailon Burks' conditioning is Jamar Chase's drops from last season, and it's not. It's 4 games in, and the kid isn't conditioned enough to play a full game.
Yeah, it's very hard to split like coach speak versus or like just overreactions from actual concerns, right? So that's where the that's the meta game, like the game within the game, being able to spot those. Like, yeah, the drop thing was people were panicking, but when else did we see a drop problem for Jamar Chase in college? Never. So why would you be concerned and interested in the NFL? But anyway, yeah.
We digress.
Precisely, precisely.
Dubs is
In
the
case you
answer.
were wondering, we have some updates from the afternoon slate. So let me switch up to player news. We have Dalton Schultz is officially playing.
Yes, good.
Brian Edwards is not playing. If you were holding out hope, and Jalen Tolbert is not playing as
Oh,
well for
that's
the
rough.
fourth week in a row.
No, he played last week.
Did he?
Yep, they actually made him. He was a healthy scratch for the first 2.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I
Active in the
remember that.
lineup in week 3. Yeah, healthy scratch without Michael Gallup in the lineup and Noah
That
Brown
was
favored over,
crazy.
which is
That was crazy.
yeah.
Honestly.
So did play in week 3, 1 catch for 7 yards, and now is another healthy scratch. But that might be an indication that Michael Gallup is actually trending towards playing, which they said he'd be a game time decision. I think.
Right. So yeah, it's again a healthy scratch for Jalen Tolbert. Let's see what Gallup's designation is. Yeah, he's healthy, 100%. I
He's
did
good.
not
So
get
there you
the
go. They
notification.
cleared him.
Yeah,
Wow.
he is clear to go. So yeah, well, let's see if we got any
Gallup's a
more
very
updates.
interesting play too, and I know he was on a lot of waivers that he probably isn't anymore in redraft leagues, but
Hmm.
Gallup is an interesting play immediately upon return, in all honesty. Look at what Noah Brown's been doing.
CD Light, you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, C- CD low-key went like Larry Fitzgerald NFC Championship in that last game, just took 6 targets in a row to the house. Like was just like my
Yeah,
ball, my ball, my ball, my ball.
yeah, yeah.
So that you love to see. And hey, man, one of the things that people hated about CD, why is he ranked as a top 5 dynasty wide receiver when he hasn't put up the numbers and he doesn't have the target share? Well, guess who's number 2 behind Mark Andrews in target share this season? CD Light.
Schultz. Oh, CD Light.
No, I mean like overall, yeah, Andrews is
Wait, CD
leading the
Lamb,
league with
you
like a
mean?
39% target share, and then Lamb's number 2 with
Yeah.
35.
Oh, sorry. The confusion is CD Light is sorry. I just assume you knew, but
Noah
that's
Brown.
my nickname for Noah Brown. Yeah, because when
Brown, yeah.
you see them on the field and they look so similar.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so it's just he's pretty much CD Light, right? Okay, so Zay Jones is out, confirmed.
Oh,
He's John says Andrew
Agnew
sorry
season.
Agnew season.
I trust the Jags fan here. Let's get Jamal
Yeah,
Agnew back in that
he's our
lineup.
Jags insider right now. Also, something we didn't mention is Foster Moreau is also out. Like that's been known, and might not seem significant, but he had been stealing a lot of snaps from Darren Waller. So this
Hmm.
might be a blow game for Darren with no Hunter Renfro as the short route guy and no Foster Moreau, right? So that's
I
great
love
news for
Foster
him.
Moreau, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He filled out like last season when Waller was injured. Filled out great.
Yeah, I mean he's one of my dynasty stashes that I kind of like. For one, you can't really get much for him, but I really do think that guy is an average starting tight end.
Yeah, yeah. We have 10 minutes left to send your questions. We got one more from Boyd. Full PPR, DPJ, Pickens, Darrell Henderson, Corey Davis. Corey Davis with his brand new QB, Darrell Henderson, Monday night. Pickens with against the
Pickens.
Jets. So that could be kind of
Pickens.
interesting. Or DPJ. I think I'm leaning Pickens,
the
honestly.
Jets are the Jets are difficult. Excuse me. The Jets are difficult. Yeah,
Bless
we've
you.
established that. Donovan People-Jones is not really interesting to me anymore. I think Corey Davis is clear number 3, number 4 behind Conklin. I kind of like Pickens.
Ooh, he
Chase
balled out
Claypool
week 1
was
though. Or week 2? No, it was
Chase
week 2.
Claypool was yeah. Well, Pickens is coming off that crazy catch. No, but
Right. And
in
oh, long
in week
rest as well.
3, yep, long rest because Thursday night, exactly. So in week 3 on Thursday Night Football, Pickens had that crazy catch. That's the the stat or the video, rather, that kind of shook the landscape. But the stat that didn't and went unnoticed is that was the first game that Chase Claypool had fewer targets and fewer routes than George Pickens. And George Pickens actually had a lower snap percentage. So he had a higher route participation on a lower snap percentage and more targets. It might be the changing of the guard.
Okay, okay.
So I kind
I
of
like
like
that.
George
So
Pickens.
George Pickens just final answer.
Yeah, I'm man, I'm out on Darrell Henderson. Like I'm out on
Really?
both of those running backs. They both look absolutely horrendous. And if Darrell Henderson looks worse than a guy coming off an Achilles tear, then I'm concerned.
All right. Oh no. You got played, bro.
This happens a lot to me. You've done this to me too.
I have, I have. I do it a
Yeah.
lot. I did it. Well, I'm not gonna go into details, but I've done it at a higher extent, like trade negotiations, asking guys in the same league. But anyway, starts this for league against Matt. So right, pick the right one. Yeah, I think
Oh yeah,
Darrell
then
Henderson. We
Henderson.
agreed. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
No, it's George Pickens. George Pickens. So
Just
there you
flex
go, boy.
Pickens against me, man. It's fine.
I had Pickens in already, but so don't feel bad. You didn't hurt yourself in this.
Too much. Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of I was kind of low on George Pickens, and Boyd specifically of more than anybody knows this. He didn't grade very high in my process for rookie evaluations, and then draft capital kind of pushed him up a little bit. I had him more towards a third round kind of David Bell area actually, and then yeah went early second. So I liked that draft capital attached to the freshman's breakout a little bit more post draft, and he's certainly proving me wrong. I think that preseason hype may be justified.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ever since the draft night when he was just looking at the TV, you could see he was
No,
the
there's
guy.
like honestly, as funny as that is, like there is something innate about being great and being crazy.
Yeah, yeah, legit for sure. Insane. Anyway, I have an easy question for you next. So
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, Mariota, Jay,
he says he benched Cousins, which was the right
which
decision.
is
Now
the
he
right
has that
move. Yes,
decision.
it
Yeah.
was.
So I think
I mean,
Mariota
bench
is the
most
answer.
quarterbacks going to London. It's
You
been
think so?
proven.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've seen it. The stats are there. Yeah, but quarterbacks in London don't do so. Offenses in general don't do so well when they make that travel.
I mean, yeah, you
And
got the
Pat McAfee was
bump
talking about
and
it really extensively on his podcast at one point. There's a lot of reasonings why they're just not really fit to house 2 NFL teams.
yeah, yeah, and it's a long, long trip. Like from Minnesota, gotta be like 17 hours, no, 15 hours maybe by plane, which
I mean,
is
yes,
significant.
Minnie's
It's
like
significant.
Minnie's like an hour and a half flight from Vancouver. So, or yeah, yeah, like almost 2 hour flight, just under. And it's 16 to London. So yeah, it's a 14-hour flight.
Yeah, problem when teams from Los Angeles have to go to London. That's a long trip. But
Facts.
anyway, Boyd says you guys keep my Sunday entertaining. Much love to you too, man.
Appreciate everybody for coming in, man. It's always a
Okay,
good
this
time.
one's interesting. John says, does Cass think the Steelers should pivot to Pickett? Let me just start by saying I was very against that pick. I don't think Pickett was the right pick for the Steelers. Just kind of rushing to replace Ben with a prospect that maybe wasn't up to par. And I think what's really the talent difference between Trubisky and Pickett, right? So In my opinion, not a lot. Maybe I do think Pickett might be a little bit better. But if you can just save that pick and instead, just run with Trubisky for one season, use that pick somewhere else, maybe the offensive line. I don't know, whatever you want. I trust you more to draft than me. So why draft him at all? And in terms of pivoting, yes, okay, you already drafted him, fine. So now use him, right? So maybe a half season switch, like around week 7, week 8. I don't really care if they pivot or not. I don't think it's gonna make a difference in terms of wins right away. So it's just more of a developmental uh, thing, kind of for me. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of the pick. I wasn't a fan of the Najee pick either. So in my opinion, that's just two wasted drafts. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, for a team that is as good as they are at drafting, like from a historical standpoint, where they've
Drafting
gotten
wide
players.
receivers, like
Why? But I mean, defense as well.
middle
I
class.
mean,
Oh, defense, yeah,
offensive
just not
line as
QBs and
well. The
running
Pouncey brother,
backs.
like they've made some good picks
Yeah,
in
they
their
have.
historic run. And obviously, like the way that they can cultivate wide receiver talent is legitimately next to nobody in the NFL. So yeah, it's kind of weird to see those two picks play out. And I've been on record many times that I think Ritter is the first rookie quarterback to start this season. But I mean,
Hmm.
Mariota looks so good that I don't think that's really going to happen. But I don't think Pickett will start at all. I don't think he'll start any games. It's also a business decision. Why put your first round quarterback out there when you could
Experience.
one have him hurt? Yeah, the experience, but also he's all. How much experience does a 6-year senior need? Like,
NFL experience, man. Come on.
I know, I
It
know,
is
I
it
know,
is
but
different.
it is a business decision, man, and there are ways that you can tank properly in the NFL that don't get frowned upon, and one of those ways is keeping your rookie quarterback that may win you a few extra games on the bench to get a higher draft pick.
Right, but think for what, honestly, at this point? What are you gonna draft? But that's a different conversation. As the Saints just score with Taysom Hill, um, and take the lead in the fourth quarter. So
Wow.
it was a good question. And Jason says because it rhymes, it must be the right move, right? Pivot to pick it. It just it sounds cool. So I mean, I would like them to do that just to see what they have, but I don't think it's gonna be meaningful in the long run or just in the short run anyway. So concerned about Hollywood Brown. I have Jeff Wilson Esquire on my bench, half point PPR. So this is like a flex question. I am not loving Hollywood. However, I will let you guys in on a little secret. The DFS optimizer we have at Broto is a fan of Hollywood this week. So that's something to keep an eye out. However, we did say Jeff Wilson has a lot of upside potential this week.
Yeah, and I agree. And half PPR might drop Hollywood down slightly. Um, Obviously, he's a volume receiver in that offense, which is a little bit different. I mean, well, we kind of projected that from Baltimore. His target share was so elite in a higher volume passing offense. We would assume that he would become a volume receiver, and he has. So I'm concerned about the foot. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of reiterated that earlier in the
Yeah.
podcast. I definitely am concerned about injuries that crop up like midweek and then go like limited, don't practice, limited. Like that stuff's a little bit like, okay. Um, a pivot to Jeff Wilson, I'm not mad at. Oh man, that one's I'm not mad at. That might be a little bit
Yeah.
of a
Yeah. That's a
strategy
good
to
pivot, honestly. Yeah.
like, kind of what do you need more? Are you down 25 points? Um, yeah, I kind of revert to you here. I think Wilson is a fair pivot, but I still lean Hollywood.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just in general terms, I do like Hollywood more. The injury is a little concerning. He was cleared, and AJ Green is out. If that's any sign of consolation, Rondon Moore is back. And
Rondale
didn't we say they
Moore
had
is
a decent?
back.
They had a great matchup, Arizona, or am I forgetting something here?
Oh yeah, they've got it's a good matchup for sure. They play well. I mean, depends on how you're looking at it. They play the
Oh yeah,
Panthers,
no,
and
yeah, the
they have
Panthers.
struggled against the Panthers specifically. Like Arizona
I don't buy
specifically
into
has
those
struggled, but
trends. I don't buy into those
neither do I.
trends.
So exactly,
They're an average matchup just in general. About
right.
3 stars on the Broto Star Sit tool. So I think I don't know. Honestly, this is a very tough one. Now that you
Yeah, no, I'm gonna lean Hollywood. I'm and I think I think the Panthers opened up as like favorites in that game too, which is just wild to me. So yeah, I do lean Hollywood. I kind of established that already. It was just
Okay.
taking you through the
Okay.
process a bit, but
I'm not sold on anyone, so I'm just gonna trust you. I'm trusting you 100% on this. So
well, and I was
hopefully
trusting
it
your
works.
optimizer, so
Right, right. That's also interesting. So yeah, Boyd's right. The Steelers are putting me through the blender. Charles says, speaking of Hollywood, this is an interesting one. I have him flexed full PPR right now. Gabe Davis, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore on the bench. Do I pivot? Yes. Yes, you pivot. Right?
pivot to Wilson.
Wilson. I was
Is
I
that
was
what you're
thinking
thinking?
Wilson or Davis. I know you don't like Davis, but we
No, I
have
would start
thought
him
that
over
this
Gabe
is a
Davis.
Garrett Wilson over Gabe Davis.
I would start Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore over Gabe Davis. Yeah.
Ooh, both
No, I would start
on
Garrett Wilson
Zach,
over Gabe Davis, Gabe over Elijah Moore. I'm just being a fucking dick.
on Zach the man. Okay, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I would.
let's go
I
Garrett
would go
Wilson against
Garrett
the
Wilson
Steelers.
in that order. I would go Garrett Wilson, Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore. Um, Full PPR Hollywood flex. Ah, man, I don't know. I still want to start Hollywood over all of those guys.
Hmm. Over Garrett as well.
Yeah, I still do. Garrett Wilson is the
Okay.
closest one for me, and I mean, I don't know that I have that option personally to say that I've made that decision, but in a vacuum, I'm going to start Hollywood over Garrett Wilson on most any
Okay.
week.
Okay. Okay. Jason got me rattled here. Uh, he has some opinions on that. Jets
I
fan has
agree.
some opinions on that. Uh, look at that. Look at
I
that.
agree. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for the input, Jason.
Overall, but I mean, I do think that Gabe has a bigger game than Elijah this week, if we're
It's
being
10 a.m.,
honest.
but thank you for the note. But no, okay. So don't pivot, don't pivot, and ignore me. Let's listen to the experts and stick with Hollywood. Now, for the last question before we leave you to your endeavors, it's DJ Moore a caught candidate? No, not yet.
No,
I don't think so because
no.
he has a potential. You can't
Buy
just
low
cut him
candidate, if
outright.
anything.
Yeah, yeah, just not cut. But anyway, that has been crunch time this week. Thank you for joining us. I've been Santiago Casanova. I've joined by Matt Ward, and we will see you next week. This has been very much